You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
I mean, don't go there. I am. Yeah, I needed a Viagra to help myself pop up today. How are we all? It's getting close. Can you smell the sweaty socks? The embalming fluid, possibly, for a couple of them? We can feel it. This time, in a week's time, we'll know. Probably not know, but have a good idea probably about how the season is going to go. Look, it's been a little bit depressing. As my guest said, probably one of the worst pre-seasons we've ever had. But look, you can win all your pre-season games and get relegated. Not a lot to, or try not to read too much in it, trying to stay positive. But we are going to have a bit of fun today. No transfer talk, no who's coming in, who's going out, who's shaking it all about and all that. We are simply going to have a bit of fun, and we are going to try and predict how the league is going to finish. I'm going to be joined by Rob Tanner, and as you can see there is a link to subscribe to The Athletic running across the bottom there. To be honest with you, it is the best read. Forget all these others that just copy and paste. It is the best. And if you ever have a moan, about John Rudkin and wonder what he does, he's done a great piece on him. So do check it out there. But this is the prediction show. We're about to make fools of ourselves, and we'll get Rob in straight after this. Rob, wait, this is all going so wrong today, you know.
It looks seamless so far, Chris. It looks seamless.
Nobody will know what else going on. Oh, look, there we go. I get there eventually. But how are you doing, sir? Are you feeling better?
Yes. I've had a bit of time off this summer to sort out a few medical issues, and I'm ready to go now for my 16th season covering Leicester City. 16 seasons.
You'd got less for murder, as they say.
Absolutely. But another interesting one ahead, I'm sure.
That is probably the politest way of putting it, if I'm honest with you. But look, join in the chat. See what you see if you can. Well, if you agree with me and Rob, and we're going to be very tight for time, so we're not going to be going through a lot of comments. But thank you to everybody who is in already. Do feel free to agree or disagree. If you're listening via the podcast, thank you so very much. If it's via your favourite podcast platform, if you're watching on catch up, stick them below in the comments. I'd love to see who you agree with, me or Rob. And at the end of the season, we will come back and look at this and see how much of a fool we have made ourselves look. But here we go. So we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to look at, obviously, 20th and go all the way up and see who's going to be champions next season. But first of all, I forgot. Leeds aren't here, are they?
Dear. Well, I would like to have them to be there because it's always a great atmosphere at Ellen Road. I know the Leicester fans were rejoicing a little bit because of the rivalry that came up that season, but it's a great place to go.
What's this little bit shit? I mean, I just had to reproduce this. Aidan, who's an Leeds United fan, said, not a single club, and this was in reply to Foss Hub, not a single club's fans in this country, when the fixtures come out, will ever look for Leicester. Every single club in the country will look for Leeds. That will never change, nor has it ever. And, of course, I had to reply, you're right, Swansea, Preston, Millwall, QPR and Stoke will all be looking for when they play you next season. So, Leeds, you're not on this. So, if you're waiting for your self-name to appear on the charts, it ain't going to happen. Right, let's jump in then, shall we? I have them written down, ready to go. We agree on about 7. Let's just say that. So, that was more than I thought, but you obviously the expert. I am just the enthusiastic fan. I'm building you up a bit here. So you've got.
Don't call me an expert on predicting the future in football. Certainly can't do that.
I know exactly, and I think there's a little bit of wishing for one team going.
Yeah, I think there is as well.
Yes, but look, let's start at number 20. I've stuck Forest there, and you've stuck Southampton. Obviously, Southampton, one of those promoted teams from last season. Nottingham Forest just staying up. Well, to say just staying up, position-wise, they weren't really in any danger of going down with the three that came up. But they got 32 points in 17th. But you think Southampton are going to go straight back?
Yeah, I've just got I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough for all the three sides that came up, but Russell Martin likes to play a certain style of football, which is fantastic. You know, he's wedded to it, a bit like Enzo was.
Yeah,
but you need the right players to play that same system to take on the likes of Man City at their own game. Yeah. You've got to have some top players to pull that off. And I just wonder, and a lot of people said this to me about if Enzo had still been in charge at Leicester, whether they would get found out at the Premier League level. Because Russell Martin's not going to change his system, so he's going to go in with. But I think it all depends on who gels and who beds in. They've signed a lot of players, but I'm wondering whether they've got the quality in there to pull this off. So yeah, as you imagine, I've got the three promoted sides roughly around those areas.
I can see where you come with 15 signings. I think they've made.
Yeah, it takes a lot for them to gel.
Look at Forest when they came up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they pulled that off under Steve Cooper, which gives you a little glimmer of hope for Leicester this season.
Fingers crossed. That's the reason I wanted Steve Cooper. But I just think Nottingham Forest, the last two seasons, they have just managed to stay up. Like I say, coming 17th. And for me, sacking Steve Cooper didn't make any difference. I know they had the points deduction, and that's always got to be taken in, etc., etc. But they were still down there fighting, and I just think this might be the season when we see them. I mean, I'm just looking here at Nottingham Forest. They have bought Elliott Anderson from Newcastle for 35 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 signings they've made. So we'll see. But I think this could be the season they go down. Now, interestingly, 19th. I wasn't far off you. I have Southampton in 19th. You've got Everton in 18th. Is that with or without a points deduction?
Well, there's a lot of rumours about another charge coming their way.
Yes.
Which, will not go down particularly well. I mean, and every year they seem to just pull themselves out of the mire. But sooner or later, that sort of catches you up a little bit. And I just wonder whether this will be the season if they get another points deduction. I mean, I don't know if it's true. I haven't heard too much about Everton other than that, they're being looked at. But if they are, then surely their luck is going to run out at some stage.
It has to. I agree. I was talking to some Everton fans the other day, sharing a bond of PSR between us, and they are getting really, really, really peed off. And I think with all of us, it's a case of, yeah, all right, we get it, and some of the owners have done things they shouldn't have done and spent more than they probably should have done, not budgeted for it. But it just seems to be the mid to small size teams that are getting done. And it's an old argument, but one that is keep coming back. And I'm sure this conversation they're going to have with Man City will just sort everything out perfectly. I'm sure it will. But yeah, I'm not far off you there because I have got Southampton. I agree with you to a point, but I've got them on 19th. The fact that it's Forest at the bottom, please don't read anything into that at all. Much. Okay, so in 18th, now you've got Forest.
Yeah.
I said that. And I have gone way over disagreeing with you here because you've not done so bad with Wolves, but I've got them in the bottom 3 this season. First of all, you've got Forest in 18th.
Yeah, it always seems to be a bit of turmoil around Forest, doesn't there? There always seems to be a bit of chaos going on behind the scenes. And And I just got a feeling from seeing them, that when Cooper was in charge and they had that camaraderie and that spirit, and we can't deny it. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about Leicester extensively soon, but when Leicester went there to face Cooper's Forest a couple of times, I just saw a side that was very united and charged, and the fans were behind them, and there was a unity about them. I just, since they got rid of Cooper, I haven't really seen that to the same extent. I just wonder how this could be a difficult season for them. It could be one where they've got to dig really deep this season. It's incredibly hard to stay in the Premier League for a number of years and establish yourselves. And I just wonder how every year there always seems to be a lot of turnover, and I wonder how much that's going to affect them.
And we have the Forest fan in as well, the true red. So he's probably just topped himself and thinking, we might as well give up now for the rest of the season. Good evening, Luke. We love you, really. But yeah, we both think that this is the season when it could be end of it for you. Now, we've got a lot of fans from different clubs coming in with a few of the comments. I've got Wolves down there because they've sold two very good players.
I'm interested in this. Why you think Wolves particularly? Because I thought they were all right last season.
They were like when you got a pan on the stove with water and it's just simmering, and it's not getting very excited, it's not boiling, and that for me was Wolves last season. And I didn't follow a lot of the Premier League, but sometimes I looked and thinking like, they
were under the radar, weren't they? Nobody was really talking about them last season.
No. And I mean, last season, I'm just looking here. They ended up 14th. They won 13 games. They conceded 15 more than they scored. And they've lost. People will be talking about us losing KDH, but they've lost Kilman to West Ham, who hasn't lost a player to West Ham. It seems every club in the world has, and Neto to Chelsea, ditto.
Yeah, that's a
so they have lost two very good players. Everyone. I'm not going to say that everybody's lost a lot of players, because on the thing I'm looking at Sky, it's showing all the youth and everything. So I'm not going to go through those. But with those two players out, I'm not sure as well. Gary O'Neill's a good manager, and he did all right at Bournemouth once he'd taken over from Cooper. He's obviously got a new contract, but I don't know. This might be the time when that we see them go down. Now, this will get the everybody talking, because I've gone for Leicester in 17th, and you've gone for Leicester in 17th, which I have to say, if Anil from For Fox's Sake, which is another Leicester channel, you might have to speak to him as well soon as well. But Anil, great friend of the channel, was doing a prediction, a review show with me last night, and he said, I wonder if you both go for Leicester in 17th. And we have.
We'll take that in a heartbeat. Take that in a heartbeat, Chris, because
it's
been a really difficult pre-season. Not so much the results, but the performances and the struggles in the transfer market, the recruitment, the strengthening. As we sit here talking now on the eve of the start of the season, I'm looking at the squad and thinking that isn't as strong as the squad that finished the last season. So, there's a lot of work still to be done, but they've defied the odds before, famously, on a number of occasions. I'm just hoping that what I just talked about with Forest when Cooper was there, we're going to see some of that unity and fire, and that's going to see them all right. But I think they desperately need to bring in 3 or 4 new signings before the end of the month to give them a chance to finish 17. So I'm a little bit of wishful thinking there, picking 17, but you never write Leicester off, do you?
You don't. Obviously, this season isn't, much to worry about. It's next season when we win the Premier League again, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's so Leicester City, isn't it? few months ago, we were all chanting straight back up, and
Yes.
now some fans thinking, "God, we're going straight back down."
Well,
But,
I did put a post out, and I had a lot of people having a go at me for being negative. But I was saying, stay straight back down, Leicester City playing football the Cooper way. But I think from a YouTuber's perspective, we've never seen this much pre-season football. Because every game's been, you could watch it.
Yeah.
And so every game you can analyze it. And we're analyzing all the games like they are Premier League games, and they're not. The performances, I will take losing. And this is what happened when we Nigel Pearson, last time we got promoted. We were losing, but my God, we were fighting every game. And this was why Cooper was one of the three I wanted, and I was very happy when we got him. And yes, I've been moaning, but I still think he's the guy to do us the job, and that is because I think he could get us to that position.
Yeah, I mean, in previous pre-seasons, I've been lucky enough that there's been games behind closed doors that you guys haven't seen that I've been able to sit and watch, and those are the games where it's a work in progress. I mean, certainly last summer we sat and watched Enzo's side a couple of times down Seagrave, and you could see what he was trying to work upon. But then it's building up towards the season. So the last game before the first official game of the season, the last pre-season game, normally you're looking for something there, a little spark, a little indication of what all the work they've been doing to that point. And like many fans, I watched on Fox's Hub, paid my £10, watched the game, and I couldn't see anything that really gave me any confidence going into the season. That they were blunt in attack, couldn't get any possession in midfield, and at the back we saw the vulnerabilities. I mean, amazing that they weren't behind at half time. Then they quickly conceded the 3 goals after half time, and it was just a massive struggle. And it
could have been more, couldn't it?
It was a gulf between the two teams, Chris. There was a massive gulf between the two teams.
Yeah,
and you're looking there and you're thinking, well, we knew from the Augsburg and the Palermo games that they're short of a 10, they're short of a high 8, they're short of another number 9. Especially when you saw Daka, and I don't know about Daka whether you could persevere with him too much longer, but I think
him on the pitch in his new boot. He might actually be able to score with that boot on.
It didn't fill you with great confidence, but I'm hoping, and I know they're trying, desperately trying over the next few weeks, they can bring some players in that will give them a little boost, because as Cooper said after the game, the players are asking for it as well. They want a boost. He wants a boost. The whole club wants a boost from a few deals being done. That's going to give them a chance of finishing 17th, because I'd take that all day long.
Wayne said there, at last, Chris and Rob completely unbiased. Research 17th position. It's a Leicester channel. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you could, as the season wears on, you could easily switch those bottom 4 around. Really, I mean, Forest and Everton might have enough to get out of it. Any trouble that I'm predicting.
As we say, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
But, anyway, moving on up, as M people once said, we have got 16th, and we agree again. Ipswich Town.
Yeah, I think Ipswich have there's something unique about them. To achieve what they've achieved over the last few years, the momentum they've got, that spirit they've shown. I mean, they got themselves out of a few sticky situations, certainly against Leicester last season, when they came up against what I would say, hands on heart, was a superior side in terms of technique. But they've just got a lot of heart about them. So, they're going to take this on head on. And I just think, unlike Luton last season, who had something similar about them, they might have a bit of quality in there as well. So they might have enough. I know everybody's predicting the same 3 that come up will probably be the 3 that go down, as it was last season. But I don't know if Leicester can find something, Ipswich can carry on with that momentum and that spirit they've got, they might survive.
That's the thing, isn't it? For me, they've got that momentum. And of course, there was talk about McKenna leaving. He hasn't. He stayed, and that's a boost for them.
It's an important point, Chris, because Enzo, the work Enzo was doing at Leicester, losing him was a blow to Leicester because they had to almost like not start again, but certainly take a backward step and then refocus on a new man. And you go through that process again, whereas they're coming into it and they've got momentum, the same group and the same manager.
Ipswich Town do remind me very much of Leicester City under Martin O'Neill. You play for 97 minutes, even if the whistle goes after 94. You don't stop. And how many times I can remember so many times last season, look, Ipswich are losing, or the drawing, and then in the last couple of minutes they get a goal from nowhere to either get the claw drawback or get the win. But hey, fair play to them, and I'd love to see them stay up. I really would. I think they're a lovely little club.
They're going to be a breath of fresh air in the Premier League this season. I think
they are indeed. Okay, 15th, and it's getting a bit boring this because we agree again.
Right, Brentford.
Yes, talk to me about Brentford.
They are getting into the territory for me that Leicester found themselves in, where all their costs are going up. They're aspiring to challenge the elite. They're starting to spend more money, offer better contracts. They've been in for Fabio Carvalho, who obviously Leicester were interested in, but they've blown Leicester out of the water in terms of the financial side of that deal because of Leicester's relegation and the backward steps they've had to take. So they're getting to them, and Brighton are starting to get to that territory now where how much do you stretch it? How ambitious do you want to be? How realistic will it be to challenge for European qualification and the like? Because their fan base isn't the biggest, the ground isn't the biggest, their revenue can't be a massive amount. I haven't looked at their accounts, but they're certainly a work in progress, growing. So this might be a little reality check for them this season, just to take stock of, still got to establish themselves. Like Leicester didn't take that warning. You've still got to establish yourself every season and then build from there.
Yes.
I mean, Leicester would put it in their financial accounts. They were going for European football every year. But Brentford, I think this could be one of those seasons, just a little warning sign for them, a little shot across the bows.
They finished 16th last season. I think that, again, you look at it very much like Leicester challenging for Europe one season. Thomas Frank was being linked with every job going. Now you don't hear him being linked with anything, and like you say, this could be the season when I think, like you, they will be looking over the shoulders.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this might be one for them to consolidate again this season, and just try until they get to a position where they can grow the revenues. And this is the biggest thing for clubs outside of the big 6, 7. Until you start growing your revenues and not relying on performance on the pitch, but performance off the pitch in terms of, I mean, that's what Leicester are trying to do with the big development they've got planned for outside the stadium and the development of the East End. Because they wouldn't. I mean, the whole problem with them getting relegated was they had a horrendous season that they didn't legislate for, didn't calculate for, and there was no safety net, so they dropped through into relegation, and the revenue was obviously massively hit by COVID. Yeah. So if they can build something around there that can help them compete continually, then they can move forwards. But I think at the moment they're just stuck.
Well, everybody will be pleased to know we stop agreeing now.
Okay.
And next, surprise for me, because you've gone for Fulham in 14th. I have got them a little bit higher. And now I've gone for Everton in 14th. I just think they immediately get, they are encircling the whatever they call, the horse and traps, whatever they call it, the old Western days. And I think they're sort of already getting that, it's us against the world attitude. And Sean Dyche is a wily old manager. He knows what he's doing. I may have maybe been a little bit over generous with 14th, but I do think this, depending obviously on this later night, I did mine before I knew about the thing, but we have to do this as if we don't know about the PSR, because that just
it's true. Absolutely, yes.
But yeah, I just think this season they're not going to shake anything up. They're not going to suddenly go and win it or win the cup or anything. I don't think they'll have the normal sort of relegation battle. But you've gone for Fulham now. Fulham have made quite a few, or a couple of signings, but you think you've got them down in 14th.
Yeah, I just think they could have a little tricky season. I mean, if you, as I said about Brentford, if you start counting your chickens and thinking you're established, you can come on. I mean, we are getting towards mid-table territory, and it will get very, very tight in there. So there might not be a lot between 14 and 10. Again, similar to Brentford, smallish club, might struggle to generate the revenues that you really need to progress. And but I can see what you're saying about Everton, and I think going back to Everton, a massive thing will be keeping their main players fit.
Yes,
that hasn't been the case over the last number of years. They've really struggled with injuries, a bit like Leicester did a few years back as well, and that makes a massive difference. So their key men can stay fit, then Everton might be more realistically in that 14th round, that area.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, Fulham, nice to watch at times. Nice to watch, I think. It's going to be a lovely day out, start the season, first away game.
Yeah.
It's always a great one. Get down the train if the sun's out, walk along the banks of the Thames, and it's a nice, quaint, old traditional ground, wooden seats and all that. But it'd be. But I still think they might have a difficult one.
Yes, well, they've actually signed Emile Smith-Rowe from Arsenal and Sessegnon from a free from Tottenham. They've let Tim Ream go to Charlotte FC. Obviously, they can't hold on to players from stop them going to America like we can. But they sold Paulinho, one of their better players, 47.5 million to Munich. And of course, their star striker, Bobby Dakova-Reed, came to Leicester.
Let's hope he is
the player that he is.
Yeah, let's hope on their part that's the worst piece of transfer business they've ever done. But we'll see about that.
We will. Well, we've had some success with free signings before, Christian Fuchs and what have you, but we've also had the Ryan Bertrands of the world as well. So,
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, that summer of 2015, some of the business then that they did. I mean, Shinji was 7 million. He was probably the most expensive of the ones that were regular starters that season.
I tell you what, I do find as really weird is when we're talking about possibly this guy that we're getting from Leverkusen, and we're saying 17 million pounds. Wow, that's a bargain. I'm like, this is Leicester, and we're saying 17 million's a bargain.
Reality is biting at Leicester. I mean, they've gone for so many players. I know you said, well, we're not going to talk about transfer, but I mean, the list of players that they've gone for, but they're falling short because they can't fit the budget. Reece Nelson, Fabio Carvajal, Stephen Bergwijn, they're still trying for Wilfried Zaha, but the wages might be an issue. So, the reality of being relegated and then coming back in and having your first season back in the Premier League is you've taken a massive step backwards financially as well as a performance. Is
Bergwijn not going to happen? That's definitely off the cards, is it? Do you think?
I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening. I just don't think that the sums add up. I mean, I think if it financially wasn't an issue, I think it would have been done by now. But I haven't heard anything for a couple of days on that. The people I do speak to are saying, money's an issue at Leicester. It's not they haven't got it's not they haven't got money, Chris. It's they just can't spend it because of the continued concern about PSR.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. And let's be honest with you, what we don't want to do is go out and say, look, we're going to take a gamble, spend loads of money, and then it doesn't work out and we go down anyway. But look, it's like you say, it's a long season. Moving up to 13th, and guess what?
Nothing happened.
Brighton. Again. Right, that didn't last long as not agreeing, did it? It is the last one for a while, to be honest with you. For me, I don't know. Again, I put these in the same bracket as Brentford. They've had good seasons.
Yeah, I do as well. They've done incredibly well. They've flirted and obviously qualified as well for European football. They've done very well. They are a bit like Leicester a few years back. They have been held up as being the model club for those aspiring to be in the top half of the Premier League on a consistent basis. And I think that they are a very well-run club, and their recruitment has been brilliant. What they've done better than most clubs is find talent in South America, which is something that Leicester haven't done in the past. That's not been a market they've, and I'm sure they've got scouts out there. I'm sure they've got a network out there, but they've never really taken a gamble on South American players like Brighton have, and hopefully Leicester benefit from that this season with the young lad that's coming in on loan.
Yes,
the Argentinian.
That's a weird one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's great. Do you see him as possibly as the KDH replacement?
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I mean, Michael Golding looks like a really good player as well, but he's only 18, and this lad's only 19. And you can't put all your eggs into one basket in terms of youth that they're going to get them up. They need some experience in that.
I agree, but what annoys me is and this came up the other day on the show, is we always hear Alves is the next best thing. Baybrook's going to come through. When are we going to? I mean, Rooney was playing in the Premier League and scoring at 16 years old. We are going to have to know at some point whether these players are going to sink or swim, and we're only going to find that out by throwing them in the bloody pool. Why aren't we?
Yeah, but I agree with you. But you need more experienced players around them to help them when they come in there. If you went in with a front four that had Alves, Golding, and the I can't remember how to pronounce his name, the Argentinian lad. If you had all those three, if you had all those three playing in behind Tom Cannon, there's no experience in there, because that's the situation we're in at the moment, because Tom Cannon might be the only fit striker for the opening day of the season. You do need. That's why they've been trying to explore deals and push the boat out a little bit more for Zaha and Bergwijn, because they need that little bit of experience. And they've got it in Bobby D. Cordova-Reid. They've got experience to help these youngsters. So when Rooney was in there, Rooney was probably playing with Ruud van Nistelrooy or wherever, and experienced players around him to help him. So
I wouldn't say throw them all in together, but at some point, I think you're sticking them on the bench. Let's at least give 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there. We're not going to find out. And of course, we did have a bit of an experience with the South American player, Mr. Tete, but we'll move on from him, shall we?
A world beater for one half of a game.
Exactly.
He looked like a world beater at Villa.
Blink and you missed it.
Yeah.
Right, we are getting into sort of mid-table now a little bit.
Yeah, these can always change around, can't they?
Yeah. West Ham, you've got them 12th. I've got Bournemouth 12th. For me, Bournemouth, they've lost Solanke. Some saying a one-season wonder. He didn't play, obviously, when we played them in the Cup last season. I just think, again, they've had a couple of good seasons. And honestly, I think for Bournemouth, if you gave them 12th now, they'd probably take it.
Yeah, I mean, they're an amazing. They defy the odds every season. I mean, you go to Bournemouth and the ground, how small it is, and you think, how on earth? I mean, obviously the TV money is massive in the Premier League, but the revenue, they can't be generating too much more from match day. I mean, match day can't be that much for them at all, and yet they keep doing it. I mean, they're very well coached. When they had Eddie Howe, very well coached. Gary O'Neill came in and did remarkably well. Now the guy they've got now looks like he's another astute appointment for them. They just seem to be, they what they've got they use very, very well. Nothing goes to waste at Bournemouth. I agree with you though. Solanke's going to be a loss. I mean, I was making the argument for him to be involved in the England squad for the Euros, because you looked at him last season. He was robust. He played every game. Scored plenty of goals, assists. He was such an important player. I think 65 million for him that Tottenham have paid will elevate them to the next bracket, as we'll probably find out in a bit. But I do think that he will be a loss. But they just seem to keep going. Bournemouth.
West Ham, you've got them, I thought, quite low, to be honest with you. I mean, I haven't got them a lot higher, but they are buying it's like a trolley dash.
Yeah, but that's why I've got them a bit lower, because I think it takes time for a team to gel. And sometimes we've seen it when you've got a core of a squad that's performing and doing well season after season, and obviously they did, and they lost Declan Rice and few others, and naturally a squad evolves. But it's got to be evolution, not revolution. And sometimes I'm always a bit wary when clubs come and they do a massive amount of business like that, because obviously that's not cheap either. But also it can be very disruptive, because those players have got to get to know each other, get to know each other's game. They've got to gel as people. I mean, I think with Leicester, I mean, there wasn't, as I remember, the massive amount of change between 14 and 15 going into that Premier League title winning season. There was some really astute players coming in, but there was also players that were developed, like Danny Drinkwater and Jamie Vardy, that developed very well. Rob Huth had already been there. Wes Morgan stepped up. Danny Simpson, you've got to build on what you've got rather than keep changing everything. And that's my little concern for West Ham. That's why I put them there.
I have got them a bit higher, but I am concerned. And they wanted David Moyes out, right? But I think that's going to be another Charlton Athletic moment. Right. I think they could.
Alan Pardew situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, so Kerbishley. Sorry, do apologise. Kerbishley, wasn't it? They got rid of Charlton.
Kerbishley, that's it. Sorry, I was saying yes then, because I presumed you knew.
No, it was Kerbishley. Got me Kerbishley's and Pardew's mixed up.
Yeah, Pardew, he's probably still being paid by Newcastle.
Yeah,
but Kerbishley famously, of course, waited for the next good job to come along, a la Potter, and it never turned up. But I think in the long term, and I think the manager that they've got in. It's the guy from that was at Wolves, wasn't it? Loppy, him.
There you go.
That's it. Thank you very much. I can't say it. I think he's a very uninspired choice. If I was West Ham, I'd be thinking, I got rid of Moyes for this, but there we go.
And they are a very demanding crowd. I mean, we talked about Bournemouth having a small crowd, but they very much get behind their team. They're not a critical crowd. Whereas you go to the London Stadium, and if they don't start well, and if things haven't been going well for a while, they can quickly turn on their own. Yeah. So, having a big crowd doesn't always be for your benefit.
No. Now, a lot of these teams we've already mentioned, we can go through these quite quickly. Wolves, you've got them up in 11th. I've got Fulham in 11th. So not million miles away from you with Fulham, but I am with Wolves. You seem to think they'll do well this season. Yeah,
I just think they go quietly about their business. People don't talk about them. I just think they're that mid-table side now that they'll win some, they'll lose some, and they've got the recruitment situation they have there. They keep tapping into the Portuguese market, and it seems to serve them well. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I think they'll be around mid-table. I mean, they could be anywhere from 11th to 14th.
They all could be.
But
we will use that excuse in 9 months' time, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just think you go to the Wolves and you know what you're going to see, really. You're going to see a hard-working side with a bit of flair in certain areas, and they'll make it difficult for you.
Again, Bournemouth, we weren't a million miles away from each other. You've got them 10, which is pretty much where I think they finished last season. Oh, no, they were 12th last season. I've got Palace down in 10th. Somebody said right at the start, after the end of last season, Palace might do well if they can hold on to the best players, and it doesn't look like they're going to be. They're going to get a lot of money in, fair play to them, but it's what they're going to replace them with. And once you start losing your top, look, we know with KDH, look at what happened to us in the pre-season. I think they'll do well if they can get up to 10th, top half.
And they were one of my favourite sides to watch last season. I was thoroughly entertained watching Palace last season.
Yeah.
Quite rightly though, if you lose two or three of your key performers, then it's how you reinvest those funds, and it's all right getting mega millions in. It helps certainly ease any issues about PSR, but I think if they can reinvest that wisely, I think they've got the core of a side that could kick on this season. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they go about it.
Yeah. Interesting thing is, after everything we've said, and we'll come on to Chelsea later, but just going back to West Ham, of course, they've just signed, is it Wan-Bissaka on a 7-year deal. Now we know why they do these deals, because
7 years, yeah.
It takes that means they can spread the cost of what they paid, like with Dewsbury, 50 million over 5 years, or 30 million, sorry, over 5 years. I mean, 7-year contract. Come on.
Yeah, well,
they're never going to get the money back, are they?
No, and if it doesn't work out, then you're stuck with him, and nobody's going to be able to afford to take him on, and you're going to have to farm him out on loan every season. If and it just rolls on. You can't then free up that money. It's I mean, Wan-Bissaka's a player that's probably underrated. I think he's a decent defender. Probably doesn't offer a massive amount going forward in the modern game. People want fullbacks that can. Well, look at Cooper. He's trying to turn Christensen into a left winger. You want attacking fullbacks, but I think he'll do a job for them. But 7 years. Well, we know why that is. That's totally about PSR, and that's why PSR needs to be in the bin.
I don't know if I will still be here when he finishes his contract. But in ninth, I've got West Ham there. I've got them a little bit higher than you, and then you've gone for Crystal Palace, but in ninth, so it's not so far off.
No, I quite like watching Palace, and as I said, and I do think they'll do all right.
Yes. Now then, we get into the interesting ones now, because in 8th place, you've got Aston Villa. I've got Chelsea. Now, I don't like to laugh at other teams, but Chelsea, I do make an exception for. I mean, did I say that out loud? I mean, Enzo, how's it going? Did they put the carpet out for you? I mean, the fans have really taken to you, haven't they? I mean, I wish Kieran Dewsbury all the best. I don't wish him any bad, thing at all. He didn't want to go and he went because we needed the money. But Enzo, I think there's a few jobs in pantomime going around Christmas, isn't there?
Look, I'll say this: he's a very, very good coach, right?
Yeah.
And Leicester were coached to the 9th degree last season. They were, all the players knew exactly where to be at any stage, at any scenario in a game. There wasn't. I wouldn't say there was a massive amount of freedom for them. Steve Cooper's asking his front 4-5 to, when they get in the final third, to play with freedom, go and express yourselves. Enzo was totally different. This is what we do in those situations, and that's great if you've got great players with natural flair to do that. But I think this is going to take a long time. Chelsea's a unique club. He couldn't turn it down. I don't begrudge him.
No, you can't. I agree.
But there's so much turmoil at that club, so much turnaround of staff, that it's going to take him a lot longer. I mean, he didn't want to go to America with Leicester, so they cancelled a pre-season tour of the United States, and then he ironically ended up joining Chelsea, and he had to spend most of the summer in America, which means more games, less time on the training field for him to drill what he wants them to do. And that's what he did at Leicester. He locked them down Seagrave, basically, and drilled them. And then we saw, I mean, the contrast between this pre-season and last pre-season is that, at least at that Liverpool game when they got heavily beaten, there was half an hour where we thought, wow, okay, they can play. We're seeing signs of what he's trying to do.
Yes.
We haven't really seen that in this pre-season yet. Perhaps I'm being a bit harsh on Cooper, but we didn't really see that.
There is that difference, certainly. I would agree. And don't get me wrong, I agree. You don't turn the jobs down. It was like when Potter went to Chelsea. You've got to go for these jobs when they're there, because you might not get the other one. You got Aston Villa down in 8th.
Yeah, they've had a tough pre-season. I know Emery's a very talented coach and has taken them, very far, so in a short space of time. But they've had PSR issues as well. They're having to sell players. Like Douglas Luiz, who was a key performer for him, I thought. They're having to sell them to just balance the books to make sure they don't get involved in trouble. And that, I think, will put a little break on their momentum. They might challenge for Europe, but I just think this season's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for Villa. See how they go, but I don't think we're going to see them challenging as much, as strongly as they have done before. Ollie Watkins is a great striker, and when you've got him fit and firing, you're always going to be in the top 8, 9. So that's why I've got them there. But I just think they've had a tough pre-season. they've had to sell some players they probably ordinarily. I mean, you take all this time to build a squad, and then you have to start dismantling it just to avoid PSR. Then
it's amazing how the league this season, more than any other season, with or without points deductions, is being decided by the accountants, not by the football players.
And that's not what PSR was brought in for. It was brought in to stop like smaller clubs overspending with less scrupulous owners, and then disappearing, like your Berries and Rochdales and the clubs that have really struggled over the years. It's not there designed to stop an Aston Villa or a Leicester City challenging the elite of English football if they've got the money behind them. If they're being like Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle could spend billions if they were allowed, and people want to say, well, that's not fair because they're run by a country. Okay, that's it's fair. That's a fair point. But what other industry do you have restraints on what you can spend if you've got the money?
I know. Right. So you've got them down in 8th. I've got Chelsea there. You've got Chelsea in 7th. So fair play. I've dropped Newcastle down to 7th because, like you say, and I've got to say fair play to Newcastle because they are trying to stick within the rules.
Yeah, they are because the spotlight is on them.
Yeah,
everybody knows who owns them, so they're being more closely watched than any other club, I would suggest. But I like Eddie Howe. Obviously we've got the situation at the moment with the interim manager for England, but he'd certainly be one of the clear candidates for that. He's done a great job there. Again, though, I mean, if they can keep their players fit and firing, I mean, we've seen bits and bobs of Harvey Barnes, didn't we, last season? But he had his injury issues. Gordon's a great player. If they can, add a couple of really quality signings without going over that thin line in the sand that is PSR.
Yes,
I think I've got them a little bit higher, obviously, as we see, but I think they could be a side to watch for European qualification.
Yeah, and I'd like to see them do it. I'm just surprised. I mean, the England have gone for an interim manager when you've got a manager with such experience as Harry Potter, and I know it's not Harry, but Mr. Potter, who hasn't got a job and would be able to start straight away. Oops, maybe you're waiting for the wrong job, Mr. Potter. Yes,
I think they're looking at Carsley and thinking, would history repeat itself with Southgate? Because obviously they promoted Southgate from the under-21, so that's what I think they're thinking.
Time will tell. Agreeing again. We've both agreed at number 6. Man United again. A team in turmoil. I feel,
don't they? They all seem to be in turmoil. There all seems to be a problem there.
I feel so sorry for Ten Hag. If I was him, I'd have waited for them to offer me a new contract and then publicly turn around and say, take a walk off a long pier, just to show up, because the way they've treated him is disgusting.
He's getting paid millions, Chris. He's getting paid millions. You ain't going to turn that away. But
he isn't, but he'd probably walk into another job, let's be honest with you. But look, to me, I just think that they're getting rid of a lot of deadwood now. No disrespect to the players that are going to other clubs, and I think he's finally being given the chance. You need time, and no Manchester United manager since Alex Ferguson has really been given the time. And I think they've decided, Ian Oss to give him another extension, and I think they'll get. I think that's sort of conference place, isn't it? But I think that's as good as they're going to get this season. The transition.
I still think there's something lacking in terms of steely spine to that team. They look a bit soft sometimes, certainly in central areas.
Yeah,
I mean, Bruno Fernandes is a great footballer, but sometimes I look at him and he's falling over and think like, they need a Roy Keane type character, they need an N'Golo Kante type character.
It's not one of those faces you want to hit. That's what you're trying to do.
They need somebody in there who's a very strong character that can pull them all together and gel everything, and I don't think they've found that so far.
No. Right, we are now into the Europa League places. You've got Newcastle there, so not a million miles again from where I am. I've got Liverpool. Now Liverpool,
I can understand that, Chris. I can understand that. I know I've got them a little bit further up, but I can understand why you're a little bit concerned about Liverpool.
not been a great window for them so far. They have changed the manager. I mean, Klopp could walk on water. I've got to say, apart from one good season, what else did he really do? But you've got Newcastle there as fifth. But yeah, I don't know about this new manager. It's like trying to the guy that took over from Martin O'Neill, Peter Taylor. It's got that sort of feel to it.
It has. It's the it's after the Lawmare show, isn't it? When you've got a figure that's so strong and iconic as Jurgen Klopp, beating his chest and getting the cop going and then suddenly you're the next man in. I mean, that bar is incredibly high. That is it might be a better job for somebody who takes over from him in many respects.
Yes.
But, as we said, you can't, when these opportunities come along, you can't turn them down.
No,
but I think that those players were so committed to Jurgen Klopp as well. He's come in with his new ways, and everybody's going to be like, he's not Jurgen though, is he? I think there might be a little bit of a tougher season for them. Yeah. But I still think they've got enough quality in that squad to finish fourth.
Yeah. You've got them fourth. I've got Tottenham fourth. I just like Ange, and I think they're making a couple of signings. We'll see. You never know with Tottenham, do you? They managed to shoot. As somebody once said to me, that it's called Spursy for a reason. Now you've got Tottenham third. I've got Villa third. I like Emery. I think Arsenal would well at that point made the mistake in letting him go. Obviously, they're doing. Arteta's a good manager. Unless you're an Arsenal fan and you don't like him. But I just think, I think Aston Villa might just carry it on this season. But you think Tottenham are going to, again, same as me.
They've signed a striker. They've got a centre forward now. I mean, they haven't had one since Harry Kane. They've been playing Son there. And Son was great from running from deep and running past Harry Kane. Harry Kane coming, dropping. How many times have we see them score those sort of goals? Harry Kane dropping, linking, playing Son through. They've got a striker now in Solanke, and I think that can make the world of difference. And also, if they can keep people fit and also keep people on the pitch as well, because they had a few red cards last season as well.
They did.
Marino, I saw him live. The first time I saw him live, I thought, he's a red card waiting to happen, the way he was flying into tackles. And sure enough, he's picked up his fair share. But as long as they can keep people fit, as always. But I just think when you sign a proper centre forward, that can make all the difference to a team. Again,
you've got them third, I've got them fourth. We'll put the last two up at the same time because it's going to be obvious when we put number two up what number one is. Again, we both agreed. We agree. I just think, for me, this could be Arsenal's season. They are spending big in the transfer market. Arteta's getting the players in he wants. Manchester City have lost one or two. And I just don't want them to win it again. It's like Scotland now. That's not somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I looked at it and thought, can I really bet against Man City for the title for a fifth time, a record? And I thought, well, perhaps the Premier League needs a change. And Arsenal have been on a trajectory for a couple of seasons now. If they make clever decisions in the market, and they could, and they're going to be hungry. Are Man City going to be hungry again? I mean, are they going to be hungry for the Champions League rather than the Premier League this season after what happened last season? So I just got a funny feeling Arsenal could go all the way.
We will see. Look, it's 2 minutes to 8. I will let you go. I appreciate your time. It's been a bit of fun, been a bit of a laugh. We will revisit this at the end of the season. Say hi to Jack for me.
Will do.
We will speak soon. And the busiest man in Leicester, Rob Tanner, thank you very much.
Cheers, Chris. Thank you. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye. There we go there. Rob, he's got to shoot off because he is doing another Leicester channel, the final whistle. So good luck to him there. Well, we agreed on 7. We agreed on 7. Wow. I'm sorry that I didn't get through any of your comments. Thank you so very much for comments that you put in. I'll go through them. Well, let's just have a quick look now, shall we? It's just that I did know that, like I say, he's so busy at the moment, of course, with everything that's going on at Leicester. Let's have a look. The True Red. Under Nuno, that connection with the fans is a bit disjointed, but it's not as family connection like under Steve Cooper. Tommy K, no shame, bottom for Leicester. Hope not, but, We've got to be ready for it. I think everyone's putting LCFC 17th. I think you're right, Jamie. I think you're right. Christian, I'm hoping with Solanke going to Spurs, we can scrape above Bournemouth and finish 16th. Yeah. I'm looking at like with Paris, who they are selling. I'm thinking that we'll put them onto the winning side. Teams we could beat. Thank you very much. 9 likes. Pick those lights up, please. Thank you very much. Look, everybody, I'll read them all later. But thank you so very much for joining in. Like I say, if you're watching this on catch up, then please do stick your comments in the description below. And if you commented during the show, please go on after and just add a comment on and say what you thought. The way you can follow Rob Tanner, like I say, he's one of the best Leicester writers out there. He knows his stuff. He was at the Mercury when the Mercury was good, and like I say, he now writes for the Athletic, and he can get deals. I think it's like £1 a month or something like that for 12 months. Well worth it. Not just on Leicester, on a lot of other things as well. But Rob Tanner is obviously the guy that does Leicester. We'll be back tomorrow night, and we will be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow night for the season preview for Let's Talk Leicester's season preview, and then we're going to be back on Thursday. Yes, already it's back. It's around the first preview of the season. We'll be speaking to Stephanie de Sykes' son. Now, if you are old enough, I'm sure I don't know if Gray is still in, he may or may not remember Stephanie de Sykes. Go and Google. If you remember Crossroads, if you remember Born with a Smile on Your Face, you'll know Stephanie de Sykes. That's her son. We'll be talking to him, Bradley, on Thursday at 7. But look, thanks, I say, to Rob. Thanks to everybody that's been in the chat. Really do appreciate it. Like I say, thanks to Rob as always. Please remember, before you go, smash the likes, subscribe if you're new, click the notification bell, then you'll never miss a show when we go live, especially every night this week. And if you aren't a member yet, it's $1.99. Click on the link below and it will tell you all about it. I will see you hopefully tomorrow night at 7 when I'm going to be joined by Kate plus possibly one other. And thank you very much for your kind words, Neil, and as well, Gray, born with a smile on my face, indeed. This has been LTID TV. I have been Chris, and I will be back. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.